What's good, y'all? Jay Boogie in full effect mode. This is the Top Ropes and Topes podcast featuring co-host Eloquent. Jake Palumbo is indisposed today. He's got to take care of some ting, but we do have a special guest, James Korba, general manager of
Yep.
WPW Winnipeg Pro Wrestling. Hey!
Yeah.
Dang.
Co-manager, general manager, co-founder, and I do commentary now. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
and part-time wrestler. I've wrestled one match, so that was
Yes,
Jack
you
of all
have.
trades. Let's go.
yeah. So it's fun. It's pretty. It's been a crazy 5 years or however long it's been. I think it's been almost 5 years, and it's just been like I never thought when we started this like that we would be at the Burt. Like it's crazy. I'm gonna cry. It's gonna be yeah. So I'm very excited.
It's pretty dope to do it in that venue for real.
Yeah, and it's not a traditional venue for wrestling per se, and I've been saying it to just the guys that it's like taking it back to its like wrestling roots of like theatrical presentation, like
Right.
Shakespeare in the round, like it's on a stage.
Exactly.
It's going to be like 3/4 view, so like there'll be people sitting on the stage around the ring, but the presentation will be a little bit different, whereas the performers will probably be more towards the audience, which is not necessarily a normal thing. So
Right.
it's traditional in that sense, and it brings back the theatricality of it. And I, as a drama teacher and like wrestling I've been watching wrestling pretty much my entire since I was 6. I'm 41, so it's like to see that something that I part of its creation a little bit, to see that kind of in that atmosphere. And I think when we started WPW, one of the things is we wanted to have wrestling in non-traditional wrestling spaces, but
Right.
the Burt has such a history of wrestling that it's
It
just
does.
it was only a matter of time before like I never expected the Burt. Like I'm not so
It's a
Devin
great
and
booking, man.
Devin and Ben are money guy and are like booking and all. They run it, they own it now, and they've just done a masterful job, just kind of steering it in the direction of like where it started, like kind of our initial vision. So it's just been awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so ecstatic. It's gonna be so much fun.
James,
Yeah,
let's
I
take it
think
back to how it started.
Uh, there's 5 of us. It was Devin Bray, he's kind of the creative booker, and along with Ben Kissick, Adam Giardino, who's our head referee. Although I shouldn't say that, I'd be breaking Cave up a little bit. Curtis Housen, who owns a collectible shop here in Winnipeg, First Row Sports, and TJ Stevenson. He
Okay.
runs Dad's Wrestling Shit. Along with our graphic designer Harley Watt. They were doing kind of those operas like. He did like a 2-sided Bret Hart shirt where one side said, with Bret Hart, it said Vince screwed Bret, and on the other side was Vince McMahon with a black eye saying Bret screwed Bret. And just kind of these like high fashion
that's it.
collectors. They did like a Marty Jannetty one, just the Click, all sorts of cool things. Like one of the works that they did was a Razor Ramon, but it was the fake Razor. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So it's like the
Right,
most in joke stuff, which is perfect for me. And so the 5 of us kind of got together, and there was a lot of great wrestling in the city at the time. But we had gone to a couple of trips to California and saw some wrestling there in a Legion, and we were like, dude, we can totally do this, because some of the promotions just weren't bringing people we want to see.
Mhm.
And I'm sure at some point that would have happened, but we were kind of getting antsy about it. And,
Yeah.
we're like, hey, let's try this out. And after that first show at the Sherbrooke Inn, which, I don't know, like, if you've ever been to Winnipeg, but the Sherbrooke Inn is not a venue one
No.
would go see any sort of thing.
Very non-traditional wrestling venue.
Yeah, and it sold, it was like near sellout. You're cramped, you can't move. There's like this red lighting, the
That's
roof
so
is
sick.
really low. Like one guy, like our champ currently, Bobby Schenk, would go to like the second rope, and he's so tall that his head would be right by a fire sprinkler. And if he goes like 3 inches to the right, he's cutting his head open. And
Oh,
it was
damn.
just like seeing weird kind of like wrestlers who are in AEW now, like Ethan Page, Impact champion Josh Alexander in like
He
this
pl-
our
yo,
PCO,
all 3 of those 3 all played at
yeah,
the Sherp.
and Shotzi Blackheart was also
Wow.
Let's go. Let's
well,
go.
Wow,
so
respect,
we
respect.
Shotzi wrestled in a main event with our current
Wow.
women's champ Jody
With Jody
Threat,
Threat.
and
Oh my God, respect. Oh,
yeah,
that's
so it's
Love Jody. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of grown from there, and it's just we went from there, and then the West End. We decided after 3 shows to kind of move up to a bigger venue, and then COVID happened. So
yep.
Mm.
it was like 2 years of like we're having a show, then it's canceled because of COVID, and then are we gonna have a show? And then the return show, there was a giant blizzard, and we didn't know if all of like it was PCO, FE, Zicky
Oh
Dice, and we didn't
shit.
know if they were gonna make it in. And they made it in the day before, and it was just wonderful. And then that show went off. We had a lot of talent who couldn't make it, but we got the show off, and it was just like, well, if we can do a show through this, like COVID, and then and I don't want to say sky's the limit. That's not, but after that, that like just a huge weight off our shoulders, I think. And ever since then, it's just been it really is a collective. Like Ben and Devin do the day to day and booking of it, but it's very much a collective. Like we all have ideas. We've all like brought in different things to it. Adam's eye for detail. Every sort of little, whether it's the mic flag or the turnbuckle kind of decals or anything like that. That's all Adam's doing. He's got some stuff planned for the Burt show in terms of attention to detail, and it's going to blow people's minds. Like he is really, really talented in that aspect. So it's just everyone kind of has their role, and and we're all friends. I think a lot of people, there's a general assumption with wrestling that it's like one booker and one person in charge, but it's 2 guys in charge, and then they're friends. We
Yeah.
still have a group chat where we just talk about wrestling. Like we still hang out like before,
Yeah.
like. And I think there was a general rule, at least for me, that once it stopped being fun, I wouldn't do it. It hasn't stopped being fun up until this point. So it's been awesome. And, we have a big year planned coming up, going into 2024, and some stuff
Okay.
we haven't done before. I don't want to
Nice.
reveal too much, but
Of course. Of course. No, we'll get you back on to do that.
oh, yeah. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
there's stuff that, like, that I'm really looking forward to fans being able to see. And our fan base has been fantastic and very like rabid, to the point of like a guy, a fan, a younger fan who creates like stuff in school. He edits like WPW videos. He's created his own WPW shoes. He created a belt and shops class, and
Damn.
That's
Okay.
yeah, and he messaged me to spoil the ending of the AEW paper, like Wrestle Dream, like
Oh, shit.
the I guess I can say it now, but
Yeah.
the Edge stuff, and I just
Yeah.
didn't even. I was so mad. Like I was like, dude, like I appreciate everything you've done, but man,
But why'd
like
you do that?
I'm sorry, fuck, but like I was so I was like, don't do that. Like give me 24 hours, then fine. But it's just
Or
yeah,
before you talk about it, you have to like establish with the person that they are
Exactly.
in
This
fact
is-
watching it
yeah.
in real time.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler. Just say it. This is a spoiler.
or just like, hey, have you watched the pay-per-view? And
Mhm.
yeah, so but it's fine. Like it's just and stuff like that, and just people I hadn't seen at wrestling shows before. The last show had I could be wrong, but had more women than men, which is not
That's awesome.
common, but it's super awesome.
That's
And
sick.
yeah, and I was just I was looking, like Devin and I do commentary together, and I just kind of put my hand over the mic. I was like, dude, like there's more women here than guys, and I was just like, okay, this is awesome. So
Man,
Yo,
the last show that I went to was Forbidden Door
Yeah.
in Toronto, and I mean, it's hard to guesstimate when there's 14,000
Yeah.
people there, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say it was probably 80 to 85% dudes in there.
yeah, the neck beard as is common the AEW fan, but it's been just
I shaved mine
mean-
before I went.
it sucks. I tried to trim my beard and I screwed up, so I just went full just shaved it all, and I hate it. I just like, oh, I look like a man baby, great, for a biggest show of the year. But it grows pretty fast. But the kids at school are like, why did you do that? It's just so. But yeah, it's cool. I just find wrestling in general starting to like appeal to. I think they're getting it, like the subculture part of it. I mean, there's aspects of it that I hate with like everything being spoiled, and I hate that. I'm traditional in that sense. Like I don't need dirt on everything. I don't need to know that Kenny Omega shot the promo video with Takeshita and Don Callis in Japan. Like I don't need to know that shit.
Yep.
Like I don't. It just ruined like that thing. Spoilers or whatever, but I don't need to know every detail behind the scenes. So
Yeah, honestly, I feel like, just sort of my fandom is at odds with it. Like, like I follow Fightful and, a bunch of
mm,
a bunch of the quote unquote dirt sheets,
yeah,
and it's like I'm personally fascinated and, some of the behind the scenes stuff, but then sometimes it's like, knowing how the sauce is made kind of
Yep.
takes away from some of my
you
enjoyment. So
know,
there's a balance to be had, and
Yeah, it's
I don't
true.
know where that balance is for me personally.
yeah, and I think it's just I just don't want everything spoiled. Like I think Eddie Kingston, I'm gonna quote him or paraphrase him. He said, "We know kayfabe's dead, but don't piss on the grave." And
True.
that to
Yeah,
me is
no,
like
that's
the
true.
perfect comment. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, we all know it's predetermined,
Yep.
but there's no way to fake what Darby Allin did on those stairs. Like,
No.
man, I just,
Jesus.
I
No.
just, yeah, but I don't need to know like that everything behind the scenes, and
Nah.
there should be, and maybe it's because I'm coming from a kind of a viewpoint where I've seen behind the scenes a little bit now, and it's kind of changed my viewpoint of how I watch wrestling a little bit. Like, I used to consume everything, like
Okay.
PWG, New Japan, GCW, just everything as much as I could. And then once we
Right.
started WPW, it's like I can't do this anymore. Like it's so much.
Hmm.
So I mean, going back to school probably had a hinder on that, but it's just kind of trying to find that balance always. And I feel like as it is, social media and the internet's kind of a toxic place for that. And
Yeah.
so
So
like what
for
you like, it doesn't matter. It
so
really does.
for so for someone like yourself who's obviously very immersed in pro wrestling from booking it, and
Yeah.
I'm obviously been a long time fan. And I always ask this for everybody I come across who's into pro wrestling, certainly in the quote unquote smart era.
Hmm.
Um, are you able to, watch Raw or watch
Oh
Dynamite
yeah.
or whatever? Are you able to sort of watch it and turn off the analytical smart
Oh
part of your brain
yeah.
and kind of just, fully
To be.
immerse, or
Oh yeah.
because I
And
sometimes watch it and it's kind of like, well, all right, I know exactly how they did that spot, and I know why they chose that angle, and well, this match is entertaining, but this person went over, but the other guy is more over. Like, can you sort of separate yourself from some of that crap?
um, I can. And just to clarify, I'm not the booker for WPW. I kind of booked one show, but
Okay.
that's
Right.
Devin and Ben. But yeah, I totally am. It's different for. I'm also like a film guy, so like I equate those two kind of similar things. And I took one film class. I have a film degree actually, but once you
Oh,
figure
sick.
out how, like you said, how the sauce is made, it ruins things like to some extent. But like these are two companies, AEW and WWE, that are at the top. Like they're the top of the game, right? They're top of the
Yeah.
heat. Impact to some extent. But when it's done really well, you kind of forget all this stuff and you get caught up in it anyway. Like
Yeah.
the Will Ospreay Kenny Omega match, like both those matches, I got caught up in them, and just like I normally would before all of this. And same with like matches when we're on commentary. Like um, I rarely know. Like I tell Devin, I don't want to know who we're bringing in until last minute. Obviously, I have to know because I do some of the stuff with the music and that sort of thing. But
Right.
If we're up to me, I wouldn't want to know any sort of the outcomes for anything. I
I
would
can
like
dig that. Yeah.
to some extent, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's just like you're telling a story. So how you tell that story is through wrestling action and um, like WWE. And while it's not my favorite, and I think it has more to do with time than actual content, it's just 3 hours, 5 hours a week.
Oh God.
Like,
Yeah.
and then same with AEW. I'll watch Dynamite, but I'll watch it later so I can fast forward it. And then sometimes I watch Collision. I love Collision so much more. It just, for me, it just the way it's presented, I like it a little better. But
Yep.
um, I just the pay per view was really good, but it was like 4.5 hours, and it's like, and they're talking about going to monthly. I'm like, no, man, keep it
No.
like every 4 months. It's beautiful. Let's have our pay
Ooh.
per view parties. That's what we do still. Like
Yeah.
five of us will order, one of us order the pay per view. We all split it. Like I love that. I don't need it on a network, you know. So
Well,
I
and
legit,
it's an anticipation thing too.
yeah,
You know, so
Yeah.
3 months between them, you can build stories because I think
yeah,
one of the biggest issues, and I'm a big AEW fan. One of the issues I had, I mean, you had that stretch between All In, All Out, and I guess
oh,
Wrestle
it's brutal.
Dream, and if you want to include Grand Slam too, four big shows over the span
Hmm.
of like a month and a
That's a lot.
half,
Um,
and it's no wonder that there's a lot of like great matches, but a lot of stories. Kind
yeah.
of they had to really just fast track where they
Well,
you know
I agree, and I feel like the all in should have been free. Like all in, they should have had that free, and that would have been the gateway for so many people if it would have been free. And then you have all out being the pay per view pay for. That's
asking
my two.
people to pay asking people to pay fifty
That's a
dollars
lot.
essentially three
That's
times in a month and a
Yeah.
yeah,
half is madness,
like
absolute
no,
madness.
yeah, and then and then you give Grand Slam away for free, but uh, I still loved them. But like yeah, like you said, I think the storytelling got a little rushed. If you're looking at like I'm of the belief that if you have a heel champion like bad guy or whatever, that he should be. I didn't like the storyline's fine, but that it was the main event storyline with the champion, and it's like. But now I like where he is now, like MJF. Like now he's in a spot. I think the most obvious thing is going to happen, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, like
Yeah.
it's clearly Adam Cole with the mask. Like that's gonna be so good.
Oh
And then
yeah.
you have that feud that they initially wanted, but
Oh yeah.
they were smart. They were smart in a sense that they let the fans kind of dictate a little bit with the brochacho, whatever they call the thing.
Yeah.
It's dumb, but wrestling sometimes is inherently dumb. You
Yeah.
need that comedy aspect,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wrestling's
with
ridiculous if you really break it
Yeah.
down.
yeah, like
It's
kangaroo kick,
campy.
like,
It's
and it's
campy.
funny. And but I think with losing Orange Cassidy in that kind of goofy character where he's kind of elevated himself, he's
Yeah.
the rest. He's the wrestler of the year. It's not
by
close.
far, by
Oh my
far.
God.
It's
Easily.
he has not had a bad match in over a year, and just with everyone,
He's fire.
um, he's been great. But I think comedy is always welcome in wrestling. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's kind of weird because I'm not a traditionalist in that sense, but I do like the bad guy versus good guy kind of dynamic, and
The classic. Yeah.
it really didn't exist for such a big show.
Yeah, I mean, like you can definitely do like the babyface versus babyface. I mean, they have to sort of build it right,
Yeah,
but for a show of that magnitude, I feel like
yeah,
a clear cut bad guy versus a clear cut good guy
yeah,
might have left a better impression, but I mean, ultimately, I really like the story that they've told throughout the
yeah,
last
and
two, three
it's
months.
worked out, but I just think having like four, like you said, 3 or 4 big shows in between have kind of, I don't know if it's diluted it, but
Well,
it's just
they knew that All Out, All In, like those were a given, right? Wrestle
mhm.
Dream was the one that was the new one coming along, and it felt like that AEW was basically just trying to take advantage of the Inoki thing,
Yeah,
like the
and
anniversary, and it was literally a timing thing.
yeah, and I feel Wrestle Dream 2 is kind of a one-off. Like just how
Yeah,
it felt. Like, there's the
yeah.
tag. I mean, I feel bad for Vincent and what's that guy's name? The big dude. They're basically like the cult or whatever
Oh yeah, the
in the
Oh
righteous.
in
yeah,
the,
the righteous,
in the
right?
handicap match, and they just got not buried, but
I
I mean,
I had a big problem with that. Like, not so
yeah,
much the match. I mean, it was entertaining, and
yeah,
I don't know. MJF hitting someone with a kangaroo kick pops me. So
yeah. It's
yes,
pretty
I'll
pops me
funny.
say
too.
that. But it's just, and it's not just an AEW thing. Like, I mean, WWE used to be really bad with it, where
Yeah,
or defined established tag teams are losing to single guys.
Yeah,
It it like you have to sort of suspend your disbelief.
yeah,
Just watch pro wrestling in any capacity, but that was one of those things where it's like I just can't get there. And but it's like MJF is a smart guy, so I was hoping,
yeah,
okay, maybe he'll win on like a count out, or he'll. I mean, I know he had his foot on the ropes, but he didn't
yeah,
need to. He still, you know, like beat
yeah.
them fair and square. Do a
how
little
do you,
something to protect the tag team that you're going over, that frankly you shouldn't be going over. You know.
exactly? So
Yeah,
how do you
or
think
you
they come
find
out?
someone. Yeah,
How do you
but
think they come out looking then? The righteous
well, I mean, that was
first
their
pay per
kind of.
view, and then
I mean, they didn't look terrible. It's just, I just don't have the tag match. I don't know, um, but I just, I don't know. It's not that they look bad. It was just if you're gonna bring them up, and maybe they use that kind of being embarrassed. Like there's a way you could use that. I think, but I don't know.
Well, because
And at the same time,
well, I was just
uh,
gonna say, I think for a big part of the audience, like if you don't watch ROH, you're really only seeing them for the first time, save
yeah,
yeah,
for a squash match on Rampage or
yeah,
Collision or whatever it was. So this is like your first real opportunity to see them,
yeah,
exactly.
and I feel like this was a missed opportunity, and
Thank you.
yeah,
and it's like I get the brochacho, um, I get that sort of appeal or that
And it's super
story,
over.
but it's super over. But I mean, they're over enough, Cole and MJF, that
Yeah.
like they don't need the ROH titles.
no,
They don't need
Oh,
them.
that made no sense to me.
yeah. And that's the thing too. Is like I think part of the thing we've been conditioned to. Like I had a podcast too for years where we would talk
Yes,
about loose ropes wrestling. It's
that's
on
right.
Spotify still somehow.
Yo,
I don't know
I
how.
listened to that Kenny Omega interview you did when he
Yeah,
was heavyweight junior.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. He used to wrestle for a
He's so
company here.
young.
Yeah, not that.
Wow.
Yeah, he used to
Just listening to his
wrestle
voice.
in Winnipeg at PCW, and
Right.
we did the interview like backstage at a PCW show,
That was
and
good.
he came back, like he would come back, but um, I don't know, like it's funny because I never really listened to that podcast, like listened back,
Mm.
maybe the odd time just for if I thought there was like a technical thing or like a swear word or something when I was editing, but like we have an interview with New Jack on there, which
I
is
saw that. Haven't heard it yet, but I'm going
it's
to.
we
I
got it
saw that.
sponsored by a friend of ours. He's like, oh, if I pay New Jack $100, can I come on your show and do the interview? I'm like, yeah.
Oh damn.
And yeah, it was just we were lucky because we were right in this pocket of podcasts because everyone was starting. I think Piper had one that come out, Jericho's had just come out,
Mm.
and all these. But we were in a pocket. We were with the University of Manitoba, so you had some credibility there.
Yeah.
And so we'd go through that channel, and then wrestlers were kind of not reluctant to talk, but they weren't as skeptical as they are now. Like now, there's no way. You'd be very surprised if you could get a wrestler on a podcast now. You know, to the extent that we did. Like we have DDP,
Yeah,
Jake the
yeah,
Snake, like just crazy
yeah, yeah.
guests
You
we
got
had no
names.
business
Yeah.
talking to. I still talk
Do
to
you think
some of
it?
these guys.
Do you think it's harder now because harder to get these
Uh,
guys now? Why?
because there's, how do I say this in the nicest way possible? Um, there's a lot of shitty people out there who have exterior motives, and it could be about clout or whatever. But like Chris Hero, who I've loved as a wrestler. He I saw him at a local show, and I talked to him like, "Hey," it's like, "Oh, it's the guy who reached out to you about podcasts." And he's like, "I don't do podcasts anymore." It's like, "Oh," and then so he's talking. He's like, "Oh, I should have probably done your podcast," but he had told me that the one podcast he had done was run by like uh, a Nazi wrestling, like some sort
What?
of like white stuff. Yeah, and
Oh
he's
my!
like, yeah, something to that degree in which
Oh,
he luckily had been able to put the kibosh to it, but that's why. And then, but that's all it takes. It all, you see all of these. Even if someone does an interview, you see things get put out of context, and it's just the way social media is now. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of wrestlers, especially if they're signed, or trying to get signed, like
Mm.
they don't want anything kind of taken out of context of what they said. So,
I'll let
um,
I'll let you guys in on a little secret. I tried to get an official interview, like through official AEW channels with their media department and everything.
yeah, yeah,
I've heard
I
it's so hard.
it's hard.
well, they basically said, we have no opportunities right now,
Yeah,
but
just
once
keep
they become
consistent.
available, we'll contact you. I'm like, contact me my ass, but thank you.
I'll talk. If it's the guy, I think is it Judge Jeff Jones still?
I don't know. I'd have to look at
Oh,
the
okay,
email and see the
because
name
he
of the guy
was.
that replied.
So you remember Judge Jeff Jones? He was like with Mike Awesome in ECW. He would come
Oh
on the.
Oh,
yeah,
So he
forgot
was
about him.
working
Okay.
for uh, Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor would do shows at Hopkins. So when I found that out, I just emailed him directly and then said, "Hey, we're coming from Winnipeg. We bought tickets. We have a podcast. Here it is. Like UMFM. It's legit. Can we do some interviews before the show?" And we did interviews with like he would just let us in before the show, and we would just interview like everybody and just one after another, and we'd have like four
sick.
weeks worth of content.
Ah, sick.
Like the Briscoes, just uh,
Nice.
Let's
Matt,
go.
Matt Taven. Like Matt Taven is the best guy ever.
Sick.
Um, and the thing was too is that uh, we would do these shows, and then they would have these after parties at this bowling alley slash bar, and these wrestlers would come up, and they'd recognize me, and they would come over, or just be like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And or like it was funny. The first time we went, it was like all these guys who hadn't been signed yet. So it's like Tommaso Ciampa, the Viking Raiders guys, Evil, Watanabe,
Let's
Oh,
go.
oh, shit.
yeah, all of these guys.
House of Torture.
So you just went. This is all you do, and this is the problem with wrestling shows: is that a lot of times, especially like bigger things, a lot of fans will like crowd them, and that's the last thing anyone would want. Like you want to have a drink with your friends that you work with, and then have someone coming up to you like, "What's your favorite match of your career?" And then
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
then I just kind of went over and I said, "Hey guys, whatever you're drinking, it's on me because you're in the States." And it's like, and no one drinks anymore in wrestling apparently, so it's like 5 Red Bulls. And then they slowly came over and we hung out, and that's how we got to know a bunch of the guys like Matt Taven, Watanabe. I bought him his first. He had never tried whiskey in his life. It was one that, yeah, it was great. There's footage of it like
That's sick.
floating around somewhere. I don't know. I
Oh,
never
that's sick.
posted it. And that's the thing too is like, I have we have friends like I have so many stories about meeting wrestlers, weird ones like what's the Mania in New York a few years ago when Kofi won the title.
Oh,
Yeah,
No.
so anyway, we're coming out. That was the same weekend as New Japan at Madison Square Garden.
yep.
Yeah.
And so we're coming out of Mania during that, like, where they timed it wrong and everyone was waiting for transportation back. So there's like 80,000 people outside.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And we're walking through the parking lot. I'm like, no shit. Tanahashi was there just walking with like his handler or whatever. So I said, hey, and I'm like, okay, I gotta approach him. I gotta, I'm gonna fanboy here and like, oh, Tanahashi, like so awesome. And then he goes, do you have New Japan World? And at the time I did. I was like, yeah. It's like, can I get a picture? Can we get a picture? So we have pictures with Tanahashi, David Arquette. as we were going in, he was right behind us, so we got a picture of David. It's just
Damn.
luck of the draw, but
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of people too with wrestling in general is they forget it's like, hey, these men and women and everyone who's wrestling, they're just regular people, and
Yes.
like to go approach them, it's I've seen some terrible interactions, but everyone I've had a chance to work with in WPW and stuff have been super cool. So it's been it's funny. There's only a couple times I've been starstruck, like meeting wrestlers. But like Kurt Angle was one, but that was like
Nice.
that was fresh, like off of like straight out of rehab. Kurt Angle, so he was a little intense.
Yeah.
Um, but like just meeting, I don't like Okada, like before New Japan, like that dude just has an aura about him, and I couldn't even talk to him. I'm like, people are getting like selfies with him, and I can't do it. I can't. I want to leave him alone, and just stuff like that. So it's been, and then so you know, with WPW starting, it's just like, oh, who can we bring in? And
Yeah.
if part of you wants, and I am speaking for myself here, but like, part of you wants to bring in all these wrestlers that you love, and it's just
Yeah.
like, well, it's not always financially feasible.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm
it's kind of that balancing act. So
I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah,
I was listening to a clip, and you'd mentioned Effie before, and he was talking about how there's a bunch of releases at WWE recently,
yeah,
and he was talking about how on the indie scene, a lot of like promoters sort of get this thing where it's like, okay, let's bring in this ex WWE guy and throw a crazy bag at him, even though Effie or Bussy or some of these other guys over here are like the real draws of the show and real
Yeah.
like
hmm
consistent ones. And I mean, I think it was Madcap Moss was tweeting about how indie promoters, y'all gonna have to back up the Brinks truck, and it's like, well, man,
yeah.
you've been with E for like 6 years, and I don't remember a single match that you've had. So I'm always curious, sort of, what's the, and I know you're not like I guess the booker per se, but I'm curious as far as what your viewpoint is on kind of the ex WWE guys and some of the
Well,
money that they command.
well, I mean, and that's understandable that right out of the gate they're going to command that money, but it's up to you. And um, we've had ex WWE guys, but PCO, right? Like, I don't think that's really WPW's mantra is to find we're looking for the people who are going to be in WWE, who are going to
Right.
be in AEW,
Yeah.
and
Right.
the proof is in the proverbial pudding if you just like who's been on the shows, right? And it's getting those up and coming talents, and not to say these people being released aren't hungry, but there's difference. They kind of like Effie's been on our show before. We've had him, and awesome guy, and just like they have whatever they're bringing to the table, they have it down, and I could understand from to some extent. And it's kind of I think it's he has a podcast and stuff, so I kind of was more of a blanket statement um,
Definitely.
than anything to kind of get those, because he's going to get negative comments from people who just want a negative comment,
Yep.
right? It's going to happen.
And he did.
But arguably the person who's done it the best has been Zack Ryder,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
in
Hell yeah.
terms of integrating himself into, like, he kind of played up that that former TV thing perfectly to a T. And it's just I agree with it to some extent, but I think any promoter worth their, it has to make sense for the show. Like, you're not just booking a show because this person was on WWE TV. That's like
No.
an added thing to it. It all depends. Like, a guy like Mustafa Ali, I think, would fit in perfectly with any
Yep.
kind of GCW or anything
Yeah.
like that. And go make that money, get that bag, whatever, if that's what you got to do. And that's you decide to talk about that with the promoter, and if they promoters want to pay them that much, they'll pay them that much, and it's up to that negotiation. And it's not like it's kind of an interesting dynamic because some companies, it's not like here's a contract. It's like, hey, it's essentially a handshake deal.
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, here's your flight. Like some will ask for like half up front or whatever, but um, it's it's it's. I don't find his statement to be that vain. I think he just intentionally made it open to get a response. But like the people are hating on him are obviously the people. I haven't seen who's like shit on him, but um, I assume the people who have are people who aren't getting booked or whatever. But I mean, if it works for whatever company you're doing, that's awesome. But I agree to some extent that there is a core group of people who are putting in the work and are there all the time, not just a one-off. So I think Zack Ryder kind of being the exception to that rule.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, you are what someone's willing to pay for you.
Exactly.
Yep.
And Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder,
Matt Cardona, yeah,
and
whatever.
tomato, and
Yeah,
like Steph Delander, obviously.
yeah.
Those
I
two
mean,
for
I
sure.
remember Drew McIntyre had a killer indie run before
Oh
he
yeah, yeah. And
That's
officially
how he
left
got.
that.
FCW.
That's how he got back into
Yep.
WWE.
Hmm.
Yeah, he killed it on the indies.
Yep. Yeah. No.
But
And that. Yeah. And I think you know the ones who are asking, saying like Brinks truck, like you said, I hadn't seen. I think I saw him wrestle. I always get him mixed up with the guy who was like the Trump supporter dude. I forget his name. Like
Who's that?
Jackson
Jackson
Riker.
Riker,
Yeah. So I always got those two mixed up. I don't know. I know it's not him,
he was terrible.
but like guys, it's just kind of whatever you negotiate. So I see what Effie is saying, but I think it was more just he knows his worth. That I think that's what it
I'm
is,
sure
and
he
like
does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he
so.
has a brand.
I think it was twofold. I mean, I think he spoke a lot of truths there,
Yeah, but
but I
it's
mean,
also to get
but
clicks.
he clipped it, and he's a really smart guy. Obviously, I don't know him, but he's a really smart guy.
He is.
He knows what's going to get a lot of people talking,
Yep.
and going through the quote tweets and the comments, and half the people are like, "Oh yeah, he's speaking facts," and the other half are like, "Oh, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, you're the guy who does the dildo spots on in your indie matches." It's like, well, okay.
Oh, that guy got canceled.
But it's like either way, it's
Yeah.
like he got a lot of people talking about it, and hell, I
Yeah.
uh, he got me to even consider it before
Yeah.
even asking it. So
And he's awesome though. I have nothing but respect for Effie. Um, like I don't know. It's just it's just whatever I think whatever makes sense for that promoter and that company and that show.
Yep.
So
yep,
could Madcap Moss, is that his name, be in a WPW ring? I don't know. I don't think so, but you'd have to ask Devin and Ben. But like, you know what I mean? So it just I kind of stay out of that stuff. Like, I'll have don't get me wrong, I'll be like, hey, we should bring this person in. Like, hey, we should bring this person in. And then they're like, shut up. Like stuff like that. So,
yeah. I mean,
um,
I think his ultimate point was just by virtue of being on TV
mhm.
doesn't automatically make you
No,
a draw. Because I
Mm-hmm.
no.
mean, like you
Yep.
said, out of the people that are released, I mean, I have no doubt that Ziggler, if he decides to keep wrestling, and like Mustafa Ali, um, I'm I'm absolutely certain they're going to be able to call their shots
Yeah.
and stay booked.
Yeah.
Now for Rick Boogs and Madcap Moss, I don't know. Like I wish them well. I hope they land on their feet and get
Yeah.
paid. But like the even even though a guy like Mustafa Ali was relatively low on the card. I mean,
Yeah.
he did. I
He's
think he
really
did.
good.
He's so good, and he
He's
does
good, but
a lot of cool stuff that
yep.
Yeah.
I think someone who follows the indies sees. Oh
Yep.
snap! Mustafa Ali is going to be at GCW or WPW or whatever it is, and I think they'll be excited. Whereas
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, Ryback is coming to town. You want to see
I'd
him?
be stoked if Ryback were like if Devin mentioned me, he's like, yeah, we're bringing in Ryback.
Woo.
I would lose my shit. That guy's hilarious. But I also have like a really really soft spot in my heart for like bad wrestling.
Okay.
Uh, like the botchaming, not guys screwing up, but just like
Just
um,
just
just there's so many ways to be terrible in wrestling.
yes, exactly. There really are.
So it's just when all of those things come together. Um, I was at a show 2 weeks ago where I think 6 people paid, and I had a hell of a time. I felt awkward. It was weird. It's kind of been a point of contention in the Winnipeg wrestling scene as of late. Kind of people talking about it, but I was there. It's like you were there. Like if you feel uncomfortable at a wrestling show, that's not a good thing generally. So
Mm-mm. That's the last
uh,
thing you should be feeling.
no, exactly. And so, but yeah, I don't know. Like everyone, wrestling is so cyclical that
Oh yeah.
Mustafa Ali's going to be in WWE again. It's just a matter
Yeah,
of
he'll
time.
make his way back.
Yeah,
That
and
makes perfect sense.
I would prefer that he went to somewhere like Impact or New Japan or like just somewhere or did a round of the Indies just to because unfortunately AEW is just like has so many wrestlers, like
They really, yeah. I mean,
so many, and
unless
it's
you do some
just
more trading with WWE, who if
I
they sign anyone now, how are they going to get any shine?
yeah, exactly, and like again, I think the average person doesn't have time to watch 5 hours of wrestling a week. I have to pick my media. It's either wrestling or video games, so it's just
I
you
don't know.
know.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan,
Oh, it's
and
amazing.
Mhm.
there's just so many options.
It's crazy.
Like if
It's
you're
nuts.
like if just sort of TV wrestling is your thing, between WWE, AEW, Impact, it's literally like
Yeah,
13, 14 hours of
Yeah,
TV,
it's
and it's
it's a
crazy.
like
smorgasbord.
right, and honestly, it was like for me personally, I tried to sort of make a vow or even a challenge to myself. I'm like, you know what, I I really want to I really want to follow Stardom,
Yeah.
because like a lot of the ladies there are just crazy with it. I
What's
mean,
her name? Julia?
Julia,
Oh,
Julia,
she's
incredible.
so good.
hell
She's
yeah.
probably in like my top five wrestlers, male or
Yeah.
female. You
Well,
Yeah.
know,
these rumors of Mariah May now
yeah,
Yeah.
word
apparently
is word
rumors
is that
possibly headed
that's the
to.
word. She could be
Well,
well, I don't know
it
if
wasn't the big
AW.
rumors that Tony Khan's gonna buy Stardom and New Japan. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that too. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. I'm not sure how believable I find it,
Yeah,
but I mean,
is it Bushi Road going bankrupt or something? Or
I,
they, they got deep pockets. They got deep
he
pockets.
does. He has essentially never-ending money.
Mm.
Um, if he did buy New Japan and Stardom, just let it be. Like buy it, own
yes,
it,
yes.
who you need to
Hands off.
take, but just let it be what it is. Like
Let them continue
hire
being.
whoever you want to run it,
And
but
just
just
let
let it be.
yeah, just let
Yeah.
Rossi keep overseeing it.
Yep.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up Stardom was like, I wanted to sort of follow it, and it sort of just dawned on me like, yo, like there are not enough hours in the day to keep up
No.
with everything,
No.
and like I'm so for me, it's like I've carved out Dynamite, as like my weekly go to, and ditto
Yep.
That's the place. That's the
and ditto with Collision. And it's like
Oh,
I'll watch Rampage only if I know the card beforehand and there's something I want to go out of my way to see. Same with I can't bring myself to watch all 3 hours of Raw, but if
no.
I know
no.
if I know Sheamus and Gunther are going 20
Right. If
Yeah.
you
minutes,
know something's happening, yeah,
I'll tap in for that,
yeah.
and it's like like I love ROH, but I couldn't tell you the last time I actually like tuned in to watch it, and
We have
it's
to
like
sign up too, right?
I watched the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
yeah, and now it sort of just dawned on me. It's like okay, I watch the two AEW shows and then select matches out of everything else, and then
Yeah.
usually the pay per view. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll go out of my way to watch Fastlane or especially like the big four WWE pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But it's like a world I dreamed where I'd be able to keep up and watch everything. It's impossible. It's like it's
Yeah.
literally impossible for me to do.
Let me ask you a question, Al. Do you have kids?
I do not.
Are you single?
I am.
Then why aren't you watching all that wrestling?
This is a good point.
I mean,
I'm trying to do a music career thing too.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Got your music, you know.
Right.
And that's the thing. I don't have kids, but you know, me and my partner, we've been together for like 12 years, and she doesn't want to sit and watch wrestling on a Wednesday all the
Right.
time. I have a dog, I have a cat, I'm a teacher. Like, you know, it's kind of funny too, because like being part of a wrestling promotion, you're kind of like, well, sometimes it's like, oh, we actually have a show this week, so that'll like fill that.
Right.
But being on the creative part of it, like, or being around it and seeing it, it's a totally different experience. So, it's funny that I still try. I will always watch Dynamite though. Like, always make time. Like, she'll go to bed and I'll watch on. I love watching wrestling on fast forward. I love it because it's like it's especially TV wrestling because you know it's like like after that segment. Okay, I'll watch after that segment.
You know how the show's
Yeah.
timed, so
Yeah. And honestly, for me personally, I don't. I mean, I was always the guy like, okay, Dynamite's on. I have to, no matter what, catch it live. And now I'm kind of like, well, you know, if I get home a little late or I'm just working on something, and it's like, well, if I started an hour back or like an hour later,
that's all you need.
Yeah, and but I mean, I'm back far enough that I can fast forward like the commercials and. I mean, I know they, you know, picture in picture, and you know, like I mean, nothing ever really happens. But it's like I can bypass all the commercials and still finish the show around the same time as everybody else. And as long as I stay off of Twitter, I'm not gonna spoil myself on any result or anything that I don't want to know beforehand. You know.
Yeah, and the other thing for me too is I'm an avid. I love football and I play fantasy football. So you add that, like Sundays when there's football and then a pay per view. I'm like,
it's a long day for you.
It is, yeah.
I got lucky. I got lucky because like the Seahawks are my team, and luckily they're playing on Monday, like Monday nights this week. So it's like, okay, well, I do still want to catch all this football, but. I mean, if you have to make me choose between watching Wrestle Dream or my Seahawks play, I'm probably gonna watch my team, and I might have to just catch the Wrestle Dream like afterwards.
Yeah, I watched Wrestle Dream yesterday. Like I watched him like after the ending was spoiled. I was like, okay, well. So I watched it over 3 days. It was actually a nice way to watch it. Like I'd watch an hour before bed, sort of thing. Right. So, but some pay-per-views I want to watch with a bunch of friends, and that's the thing when you sit and watch it with a bunch of friends, you don't remember any of it because there's jokes, you're whatever, and then you know if you're gonna like, I've been made a priority that over Christmas break I want to rewatch the Okada Omega matches, like the 3, because it's like 2 hours.
Bad idea.
And I want to rewatch them because I think in 2024 there's going to be a 4th one. That's my call.
Yeah, I think that's coming.
I think that's the move.
The hair's getting blonder, y'all.
I noticed that.
Right? I see the hair getting blonder.
Yeah, and then I mean, Wrestle Kingdom's coming up. You know, there needs to be that 3rd kind of rubber match between Ospreay and Omega. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that is going to be freaking amazing. And like you said, all this sheer amounts of wrestling that we have access to, it's crazy. Like GCW's having shows every weekend, and their subscription service is dirt cheap, and they're not all their shows are great, but they have some good stuff on there. So I'm not really a deathmatch guy, so.
I tried to follow. Sorry, like I tried to follow like the G1 in its entirety this year,
Oh, I've done that. I've
and
done that.
That's crazy.
holy hell! Like I knew it was going to be a lot of wrestling, but it's like
That's a
You know,
lot of
I,
wrestling.
I was like up 2 o'clock in the morning trying to watch
oh, you did it.
trying to
You
watch
did it
these
wrong.
shows.
Oh
You did it
man.
so wrong. Here's what you do, and it's I work in education, so I get summers off. Uh, just a myth about summers off. We do get summers off, but August is you're basically planning for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
you
saying.
are.
But anyway, here's what I would do. I would stay off social media. When I would wake up at 8 o'clock, I would fast forward to only the G1 matches. You do not have to watch the 6-person tags. They're
I skipped those.
so it was 2 hours every day, and I'd watch
Right.
it. I'd get up at 8, watch it till 10. My day would be because it's summer. My day would be started. I had no problems doing it. I haven't done it in the past couple of years, but maybe this is the year I go back to doing that. We'll see.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
I
There
mean,
you go.
I would have. Yeah, because I mean, I would like the first 2 or 3 nights. Like I tried to watch it live on
oh
New
god,
Japan World, and
nope,
I kept
can't.
like
It's
I
crazy.
kept like falling asleep or tapping out like
Yeah,
halfway through the show.
yeah,
So then I
No,
was
that's a
like,
long
okay,
show.
f this. So it's like, okay, I'll just wait until the whole thing is done because I mean, I'm pretty good at avoiding spoilers online. I'll just wait until the whole show is there, and then like in the afternoon while I'm you know, like doing work or spreadsheets or
yeah,
whatever. Like I'll have it on in the background, and oh snap, there's Eddie Kingston and Shingo Takagi. All right, I'm gonna focus on it. But if it's evil versus I don't know someone else I don't really care about, it's like I'm watching it, but I'm still kind of like doing my own
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And but yeah, but I mean by the end it was just like yo, and so you'd ask me if I had like kids or so forth, and it's like realistically I could squeeze more wrestling into my schedule, but
don't.
I
Yeah,
also but I also feel like if I watch too much wrestling, I'm gonna not like it. Not I'm gonna want to not watch it
Yeah,
so much.
yeah.
So it's like I have to have that
overkill.
balance to enjoy it as much as I do.
So the worst was near the end of Loose Ropes Wrestling. I decided to go back to school to get my teaching degree. So we were doing that. So I was watching wrestling for that. Then WPW had started. So we were also doing that. And then it was just too much wrestling. And I don't want to say it killed me watching wrestling, but I don't watch nearly as much as I used to. Like it's usually just AEW Dynamite on average, and maybe like the odd if it's like, oh, you have like any sort of speedball. I love Mike Speedball Bailey.
He's
That guy
amazing.
he's so good.
Yeah, man.
Um, and anything with that, or if there's like any kind of like WPW alumni that are doing stuff, I'll try and like if Ethan Page is doing stuff, I'll try and like watch what he's doing, or Josh Alexander, kind of keep in contact with that and just kind of see what's going on. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's too much, and it's a good problem to have because I remember when there was nothing. So
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm not going to complain.
Exactly.
And it's funny because I still watch old WCW, not from the network, but other ways. But like I have the entire like 96 Nitro, like every Nitro episode from 96, every pay-per-view. So go back and watch that stuff because it's just like
Fun.
it's fun and
Yeah.
it's like interesting to see what was like because you go back and watch the Attitude Era, a lot of it is pretty terrible. Like it's
Oh yeah.
not good
That
from a wrestling standpoint, or like it's not even acceptable half of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But
so yeah,
we remember it as kids being like, "Hey, that's when I told my friend to suck it in the hallway," like so.
That's
I
when the DX crotch chop was banned in
Oh
Winnipeg.
yeah, Devin managed to find like an Inside Edition interview when McMahon goes, "Oh, get out of town, Winnipeg." It's in our intro for WPW,
I
like
must have
him.
missed that.
Yeah,
'Cause they
you can
used to
find
do that
it.
that's
in the
wild.
intro.
So they're
That's
talking
so
about.
awesome.
So they're talking. The story was about like kids getting suspended for doing the crotch chop in class,
Yeah.
and they focused on Winnipeg for some reason.
I don't remember what school it was, but yeah, that actually
Yeah,
happened.
it's funny, man. And like, I just remember like being in high school and when The Rock went corporate, because I was
Yeah,
obsessed with The Rock.
yeah.
Like, he
It's
was
hard
my
not to be.
favorite wrestler for a
Yes.
long
Oh
time.
yeah, definitely.
That's why I went to WrestleMania 28. I said, if Rock comes out of retirement to wrestle in his hometown, I'm going. And
I get it.
yeah, and I did. But yeah,
Man, we could honestly keep going, but we haven't even talked about the Rumble at the Burt yet,
yeah.
and we've gone like like
Well,
25 minutes over time.
We should definitely
We
talk
should
about
probably
that.
talk about Rumble at the Burt.
Let's get
I
it.
only
Let's
got
get it.
shit on because you said I was the booker. So like Devin's just kind of like booker. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, no. Yeah, Rumble and the Burt. We've had a build up towards the main event with Bobby Shink and Tyler Colton. Colton actually, after our match, he was my tag partner. Kind of
Yeah,
just straight up took the belt from him, and they've been kind of going barbs. They were in a mixed tag match at our last show, Legends of the Pinfall, and
right.
they've had promos, and it's just like it's coming to a head. Like he powerbombed them through the table, and it's just like a culmination of months of just, and for Colton it's like 4 years because he lost to AJ Sanchez in our first title, like the match for the title. So it's been really kind of interesting to see him like come back from that, and he was in WPW for a bit and then he wasn't, and he came back, and it was interesting to see his comments about kind of like he wasn't sure at the beginning because it was run by fans, and that was always the kind of,
Mm,
there's always kind of a label there when fans start promotions, right? Because
okay.
it's like they're just doing their dream matches,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. But it's been 4 years and he's kind of fully, it's awesome seeing him like full gorilla mode, just like literally destroying people. And Bobby
Still.
Shank, our champ, that's, you know, I don't want to say he's an unlikely champ, but like the fans just got behind him, and he just like, if you watch where the match where he won the belt, the West End Cultural Center came unglued, like Devin was screaming. I was counting three at the time. Um, but like it was crazy to be in the ring for that, like just insane, and to see what Bobby Shink's been through and Tyler Colton to come at the Burt at our like biggest show ever. I'm so excited to be
It's
able to
amazing.
call that
Yeah.
with with uh you know Gino Spunko and Tommy Lee Curtis, who's going to be on commentary, which should be interesting. False Jesus prophet guy. So that should be a lot of fun. You have Jody Thread against Lufisto. Like Lufisto's a legend,
Yeah.
Absolute
and
legend.
Jody Thread has been on a
She's
tear ever since
dope.
she won. Like
So
her only
dope.
loss, I think, came to Shotzi Blackheart in a triple threat. So she's been on a tear. She's been killing it in Impact, like all over. And her and Lufisto, it's gonna be crazy. You
That's a legit
have
dream match. Hell yeah.
yeah, you have AJ. You have kind of AJ Sanchez against his protege Chad Daniels,
Chad
who the
Daniel.
fans absolutely hate. Fuck you, Chad has
Yeah.
become a mainstay at shows, which it's funny because I know one of my things, I didn't want WPW to be a family show. I was like, I don't want to do it. Like, not that we were going to be cursing all the time, but I wanted to be at a bar. I want people to have drinks, maybe be a little bit drunk, have a good time. It's just kind of morphed into where kids are showing up now, and it's like, not that it's family, but it's like, this is my 10-year-old son who can handle the odd swear word and
Right.
sexual reference. So it's been really interesting to see that. But AJ, your protege, the student becomes the teacher, teacher versus student, whatever. I'm really excited to see that, even though I hate AJ's guts. I don't like him as a person, but as a wrestler, like he was like one of the guys that I was super stoked he was in the company, even though he's a terrible, terrible person. But that should be a
James, I
great
really hate
match.
to cut you off, man.
Oh, Okay.
We're gonna be like cutting off in like
Oh
seconds.
shit! Yeah, October 7th, man. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster. You can still get them.
Yes,
And
yes, yes,
Rumble
yes.
in the Burt. PJ Phil is in the Rumble. Like, come to the show. It's gonna be
There you
amazing.
go. Check it out. Check
Pull
it out.
up.
Thank you, James.
Shit. I thought it was. Uh,
Okay, wait, we're
oh,
still here. We're still here.
okay. Oh yeah.
It's at the
I see.
Burt
Oh, so you only do
Saturday
an hour
night.
block. Oh shit.
Is it gone?
No, it's still live, man.
Okay,
Oh
it's
no.
still live. Okay,
Yeah. So we're still
Saturday
live.
night at the Burt.
Yeah, Saturday night at the
Ticketmaster.
Burt. Yeah, Ticketmaster. There's our first ever Rumble. Um, it's gonna be a time, man, and like I can't express enough. If you've ever been, our West End shows sell out in hours. This is probably your only chance to get tickets. A lot of people said, "Hey, you should go to a bigger venue." Well, here you go. We're at a bigger venue, legendary theater. I can't. I'm going to cry so much, just tears of joy. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun, and it's a big step up for us. And it's I can't wait to see what it looks like on YouTube with our
Oh
fantastic
man.
camera crew, and I'm so excited. It's just I can't express. If you've never been to a wrestling show or specifically WPW show, you need to get on it. Ticketmaster tickets are still available and great seats. There's not a bad viewing seat anywhere.
And to
You're
be honest,
directly looking at the action. So
all you have to do is check out their YouTube.
yeah,
If that doesn't like hook you, I just can't
yeah,
help you, homie.
it's all there. It's all well done. Mark Green, our editor, does an
Straight
amazing
up.
job. All our camera crew, Luke, Dylan, our sound guy Cody. It's just they do such a great job, and they love wrestling too, and you can see it. So
James,
Rumble in
please
the
let them
Burt.
know where they can find you online.
Well, you can find us on Twitter, Winnipeg Pro, Winnipeg Pro
X.
Wrestling, X, yeah, whatever. You can find it on YouTube, Winnipeg Pro Wrestling. They don't need to know my Instagram. It's fine. Yeah, anything Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, just look it up and
There
you'll
you
find
go.
it.
There you go. James, I want to
Amazing.
thank you. I'm
Yeah.
so glad we got you on. This will not be the last time, by the way.
Oh, great. Yeah, I want to talk more about rap. I love rap too. So
Oh, we could easily do that.
yeah,
We'll definitely
you know,
get a hip hop,
We'll make that
especially
happen.
with
we need to
Jake.
talk about
Jake.
how Pharaoh Monch is one of the top 5 rappers alive. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay then.
I
Okay.
saw him in Toronto for the first time like 3 weeks
He's
ago.
amazing.
Whew.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Top five.
I'm not gonna fight you on it.
And it's
Yeah.
like that. Thank you again, James. L, as usual, it's been a blast. This has been a dope show. Thank you to James. Make sure you check out Rumble at the Burt if you are in
Rumble
Winnipeg.
in the Burt.
Rumble
Sorry,
at
not
the
to
Burt.
correct you.
Rumble in the Burt or at the Burt?
In the Burt.
In the Burt.
In the
Okay.
Burt. Okay.
And if you're outside of Winnipeg, please check out their YouTube because I guarantee you, entertaining as fuck. You want to roll with this.
Yeah.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
That was great.
Definitely.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, not a problem.
All right, peace.